Drop it on them random.
Yo, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out to watch this week's The Rap on HipHoPolitic.com. I got a couple people with me. I got my man Kil, you know what I'm saying?
What's good, Vag?
Producer extraordinaire, you know what I'm saying? And I got my man Ahk, who also has done a little bit, on the producer side.
Yo, it's good.
Both,
What's
yeah,
happening?
you know what I'm saying? Both former radio professionals, especially as it relates to hip hop, strictly hip hop and B-more. And if this is your first time checking this out, this is The Rap, which is basically a weekly wrap up on news and rumors and happenings in the world of hip hop, where I myself, Vegas, and a couple of guests get together and we talk about it. You know what I'm saying? And this honest banter as it relates to whatever's going on. You know what I'm saying? So let's get right into the thick of things. And the first news story, if you could call it that, Gilly the Kid drops a diss record dissing Meek Mill, entitled King Me. Now, apparently they've been having some beef on Twitter, which is a trend, which drives me nuts. But, they've been having this back and forth beef, and it's kind of the typical beef that Gilly the Kid finds himself in when you call yourself the king of Philly, and some rappers don't agree with it, like Cassidy or Beanie or whoever. But recently it's been Meek Mill, and man, it really got entertaining. Like, I heard the song was okay. It wasn't no big deal. Gilly had lines in there like, "I'm the king, you a pawn. You sucker niggas be alarmed. You pussy nigga, I'm the Don. You rookie nigga, I'm LeBron." But check this out. Meek Mill's tweets are just as entertaining. Like, he had one tweet, King of Philly in quotations. "If you got knocked out, you ain't the king." Then he had another one, "And I ain't gonna do no back and forth. I'ma be in them Philly streets in the biggest whips. You can't miss me, fraud." So, Kil, you're from Philly. What do you think about this?
It was funny because, I mean, it's just like you said, Gilly went through this with Cass. I think Gilly, has his team in Philly. And I mean, Philly loves Gilly, but I think when you start to get outside of Philly, cats like Cassidy and Meek, cats who, have a bigger buzz across the world, of course they feel some kind of way where it's like, even with Cassidy, that whole diss, that started from somebody just asking Cass like, yo, Gilly saying he the king of Philly, and he just like, yo, Gilly don't even got an album out. Like, how he the king? Like, I really didn't even take that. I didn't even really take it as a chin check. Like, it was just like, yo, how you gonna call yourself the king of a city and you ain't got no product in the street? Like, you can't be like, yo, I'm the dopest drug dealer on the block and you ain't got no product on the block. It's like, while other people do have product on the block. So I think it's one of them things. I think this will get interesting because Gilly is a real street dude. You know what I'm saying? And Meek is a real street dude. Cass don't even know. Cass grew up on my block. That's my young boy. We live on the same block. We grew up together. You know what I mean? So, Cassidy is a regular dude just like us, like just a good dude. You know what I mean? We hung with street dudes, but Cassidy wasn't in them streets moving keys and coke, at least when I lived on the block. Now, maybe when I went to college, that's the life that, he got into, but the Cass I know was just a regular cool dude who was just ill on the mic. So I'm actually interested about this battle, and prayerfully they can keep it on wax because, like I said, you really talking about two real street dudes, and this could end real bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting because Meek Mill and Cassidy kind of had their thing, and then now you have Gilly, and Gilly's been getting a lot of press lately because I heard he's supposed to be playing Tupac in the film. And,
did you see the video of him and Will Smith in the studio?
Nah, him and Will Smith. Word?
Google that, man. It was like an Eddie Murphy moment. Like, what you doing with Danny Terrio? Like, yo, Will Smith, what you doing in the studio with Gilly the Kid? Will in there lifting weights. I'm like,
Oh
yeah,
no.
yeah. Google that
What?
video, but yeah. So like I said, Gilly's getting his buzz, but like I said, hopefully Cass can keep it, on wax, because it could get real bad and even worse in them Philly streets than what they already are out there.
Oh yeah, I hear you. So, Ahk, what's your take on this? Do you even think this is a decent battle? You know what I'm saying? Something that we would be interested in seeing?
Yo, man. I was talking to my man. Shout out to my man John the Baptist, 3rd Infantry. I was talking to him, and it's crazy. We were just talking about this the other day before this had even happened.
Hmm.
We were talking about the whole Meek and Cassidy issue.
Yeah.
His theory was that whole thing was fabricated to try to get Cassidy some burn, some play, some hype. And now with this whole Gilly, and like you said, already looked like his momentum, I guess momentum was building a little bit. Like you said, he in the studio with Will Smith. He's supposed to be playing Tupac. And now all of a sudden he got beef with the guy who is, riding and repping for Philly right now.
Yeah.
And I thought that they was cool, like at some point or what have you. But all of a sudden, it just seems convenient. I mean, that was his take on the Cassidy thing, and now with this happening, it makes me raise my eyebrow. Like, wow, like maybe that could be, but I don't know. I haven't heard the King Meat joint yet. I haven't heard it yet, but I don't know, man. And it does. I guess the number one thing is why. I understand people want to compete, but it's like, why? Like, why can't he could do his thing and I'm gonna do my thing? Like, why is it this? Okay,
My take on that is that, like, Veg, you from Brooklyn, so it's different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's the home of hip hop. You could live down the street from Special Ed. You know what I mean? Howie T could, live in your building or something like that. But I think for cats like us, from being from Philly and Baltimore, we were always trying to prove ourselves. So we're both coming from cities where you're trying to prove yourself. And I mean, with Baltimore, I still don't understand why to this day, after doing strictly hip hop since 1993, how there still isn't a Baltimore MC that's out there like that. So I think because we come from cities where you have to fight for that top spot, it's so important for us. So it's like, if Meek feels like, yo, I'm repping Philly, I'm the biggest dude, I'm with Rick Ross, to me, I mean, just looking at it from that, I don't think nobody else could call themselves the king of Philly, because Meek still be in them streets. This ain't like Meek just be out in Miami all the time. Meek still be out in the streets in Philly like that. Yeah. So I think, and it would be the same thing for Baltimore. I think if they're the dude Los that y'all got, like, I guess if he's calling himself the king and then some sideline dude off of North Ave calling himself the king, Los may feel like, yo, wait a minute, I'm with Diddy. Like, how dare you call yourself the king? You just on North Ave. But that's because we're coming from cities that always felt like they had to prove themselves with hip hop. Yeah. So I think that's the problem, where it's like, oh, well, nah, you can't give him that and give nah. When Beans was hot, he was the king of Philly.
But the thing, that's what I want to ask. Has Meek proclaimed himself as the king?
I think the thing with Meek is he may not feel like I have to proclaim myself as the king. Like, it is.
Because he's like, it is what it is, right?
It is what it is. So then when you feel like somebody else, when Big was alive, he was Brooklyn. Jay could be from Brooklyn all day. It didn't matter. It was all about Big and Brooklyn. You know what I mean? Now, if Buckshot come out talking about, yo, he got a new mixtape talking about I'm the king of Brooklyn, it's like, dog, are you serious? Like, Big didn't have to say I'm the king. It was just known, So I think that's the thing. And I always still think it's that little bit of difference, because we both come from cities that are fighting for their right in hip-hop. You know what I mean? So
I don't know. I guess from the outside looking in, from being from B-More and looking at how successful, in my eyes, if we want to make a comparison, how successful Philly has been, it's like, yo, what is, like, okay, Gilly wants to call himself the king. He don't really have it as popping as Meek. yo, it's not even a question. We know. You know what I'm saying? We see it. Like, you ain't even gotta say nothing. Matter of fact, somebody else could have tweeted that, and he ain't had to say nothing. Like, but I guess you're right. It's just that competitive Philly and B More got it too. Like, what? Like, I'm gonna say something right now. Matter of fact, you know what I'm saying? Like, nah, and tweet right now. I guess that's what it is. But it's like, yeah, Meek ain't. To me, he don't gotta say nothing because we know, like, we see the proof. We see it.
But I think it's different with, like I said, if you in them streets like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You in them streets, it's like Avon said, I want my corners. You know what I mean? And that was the moral to the story. I want my corners. Like, you gotta remember, Meek's a young boy. You know, I'm 39. So it's a difference for me. I'm like, man, let that go. That's some young boy stuff. But he's a young boy. Yeah. So at the end of the day, where Avon had the stringer, like, nah, let's just get this legal money for Avon, it's like, nah, B, it's about these corners. That's all I care about. You know, that's all it is. And I think for Meek, it's the same thing. Because like I said, he be in Philly, he be on them bikes. You know, Meek is still in those streets like that. So if you a street dude and you in them streets and you hearing cats come up to you talking about, yo, Gilly, da-da-da-da-da, see, we thinking about a rapper who may be on tour somewhere. Meek may have been in Philly when this happened.
Yeah.
You know? And your boys get in, your ear. You know how that is. You on the corner, yo, you gonna let this dude go on you like that? You know, next thing you know, like you said, you pick up your phone and you start tweeting stuff. You know, so.
Yeah. I think, and let me clear this up real quick. When it comes to New York City as a whole, it ain't never established. I mean, it could be two whack-ass rappers we never heard of on the same block. And if one dude is like, yo, I'm the king of Martin Luther King Boulevard, it's on. You know what I'm saying? It becomes a problem. I think it's just, it could be what I'm saying, because I wouldn't put it past any of these dudes. I mean, you got dudes walking into polls on purpose before the album come out just so somebody could look at their ass. But you know, it's the hip hop game. We just all hope it stays on wax or Twitter or whatever their goal is, and it gets interesting.
And it has thus far. Like, nothing big happened between him and Cassidy, so it has stayed. You know, it has just stayed hip hop and competitive thus far. Like, nobody's that we know of. Nothing's made the news.
Yeah.
Now I will say this, and talking about what you said, your man said about the Cassidy stuff being kind of fabricated or whatever like that. I will say this is that Gilly did go a little far for it to be kind of fabricated for me. That's what made me think it was real, because I don't know if you saw the video. Gilly actually came out to my hood.
Okay.
I saw it.
It was with dudes who were around my way who, you know, that knew Cass. So I could believe what your man was saying. It's a good thought, but I think that may have been taking it too far. Maybe,
no,
you know.
No. He was talking about the Cassidy and Meek thing.
The Cassidy and Meek. Oh, my fault.
Not that. Now that first thing between Gilly and Cass, that was kind of funky.
All right, yeah, my bad then, my bad.
Yeah. No, he was talking about the newest, latest.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Stuff. Yeah.
All right, well let's move on to some more progressive things about hip hop. I hope Russell Simmons and Steve Rifkin will use YouTube to sign and develop and promote new talent at a new label at Universal. Now, I guess you could call this groundbreaking because it's coming from two established industry professionals. Even though, you know, I feel like tell that shit to Justin Bieber and, you know, tell that shit to Soulja Boy, because they kind of launched their careers off of it. But basically, they're going to use YouTube as their A&R source to find talent and to, I guess, hone them and promote it. And the thing that's interesting about this whole thing is something I've been telling people, whether you rap, work in radio, whatever, for a long time, about the power of the internet, that the people who used to have the power don't really control anymore, which is, you know, I could get myself hot. You know, I got my YouTube account, I got my Google, I got my Twitter, I got my Facebook. You know, why do I need an A&R? Why do I need a marketing team? You know, why do I need your budget when I can do enough online to pump myself up and to get my own shows and put my own album out the way I want it with everything, put my own video out. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Um, so me and you were kind of talking about this earlier, and to see two legendary music industry moguls like a Russell Simmons and a Steve Rifkin with what he did for Loud Records. What do you think about this move?
Uh, I think, like you said, they kind of late. Uh, they real late, and I mean it's good, it's fine, but at this point now, I think them going off of like views and stuff like that,
Hmm.
I think it's gonna have to be a little deeper than that because people be buying views and stuff now and buying
Yeah,
followers and stuff. So as far as what they be judging and what their criteria is, it'd be interesting to know because if they going off of numbers, with the net, you can't. I guess okay, if you're going off of numbers, you need to be going off of comments and things like that too.
well, they do
Because you
have
can't.
they have tools like Google Analytics that lets you know things about habits that people have on Twitter and then most of the social site, any website really, where they can
Hmm.
give you numbers just like a radio station where it's like, okay, traffic is heavy on Twitter at 10 a.m., you know what I'm saying, versus this time. And what are people clicking on? What are they looking for? What are
Hmm.
they watching? How long are they staying? So I think that they're going to base their research and gauge their research off of that. But I think the number one thing I want to know is what the hell does this contract look like? Because there's a lot of rules with the internet that haven't really been established as it relates to outside media. You know what I'm saying? Like really, you can do what you want. You know what I'm saying? Kill, what do you think about this? You ready to sign a deal to be a YouTube fan or
I mean, I
hero?
think I think the thing is, man, like kind of like we was talking about with Kanye West walking in the polls and everything. For all I know, maybe Russell and YouTube did a deal where it's like where once people hear this, there's gonna be a lot more people uploading videos, and for all we know, it
Hmm.
could be a behind the scene deal like that. I think I think the one thing that maybe it could be good for, and what you were saying, Ak, about the numbers is I think that that's the problem with hip hop. And when I think of Russell Simmons and when it speak, especially Steve Rifkin, and just like you said, Veg, everything he did for Loud, that prayerfully we're dealing with two hip hop heads, who wouldn't even want to go off of numbers. Who cares
Right.
if,
It's
if
talent.
yeah, who cares if this chick has 8 billion hits? If she's whack, she's whack. You know what I
Right.
mean? So hopefully it will
Hmm.
be I'm using YouTube as my A&R. Like I'm just going on here to see who's dope. I don't care if he got 5 views or if he got 5 million views, which could take 8 people a million years to go through everybody on YouTube. So I don't know how that's gonna work. I think it's just something like it's just the hype of it. It's the first new thing. It's what people are
Hmm.
talking about now. People probably won't be even talking about this next month. We'll forget Russell Simmons and Steve Rifkin and even have a record label. And why do they have to do it together? It's like, do you really have to do it together? I mean, you really don't. So, like I said, I feel like that's one of them club deals. Russell, getting a little high. Steve drinking. It's like, yo, we should start a record label. Like, I bet, let's do it. We gonna put it on YouTube. Yeah. But I do think that even in this independent world, that you may be able to use a label like that to push you because at the end of the day, you still need money. And I mean, Veg, you and I know just with our albums, I think The Gray Area and I think, You're All Welcome are two incredible albums that have gotten great feedback, but we still haven't been able to really reach the masses of the
Yeah.
world yet with those albums, mainly because we really don't have any money behind us like that. Like if
Hmm.
If you gave us 10 G's, B, Veg be on tour right now. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you still need money because these little blogs and everything. They just like the radio stations nowadays. They want their payola. You know, you want to get on World Star. World Star ain't putting no videos up there because it's a good video. They putting videos up there because you paid them to put the videos up there.
You
You know
pay
what I mean? So at the end of the day, to still get those 20 million views on, you know, World Star, you got to have at least a G in your pocket to let go of every video. You know, so I do think that people still do need money behind them. You have a cat like Joe Buttons who had the hype. I think that's one of the greatest things that hieroglyphics showed us back in the day was it kind of was like you want to get that album deal maybe for 2 albums, gain your worldwide fan base, and then when the label drops you, like Hyro and them been making albums for years, just independent, going back to the 90s. You know what I mean? And I think that that's the blueprint. Like, you got to get that fan base. You need that major record money just to get you overseas, to get you over and, you know, seen around the world. But once you have that fan base, you know, I forgot who was saying it, but they were saying, like, Drake really didn't have to sign a deal with Young Money. Like, he would have been good just going the internet YouTube route because he was already so successful at it like that. So, but again, like I said, I know cats who are in the streets and they stay with some money behind them, you know, and it's not hard to make good hip hop without money. It's hard to get that good hip hop heard without some money behind you. So,
yeah,
Hey,
I agree because I was telling Ahk earlier today, like a dude like Joe Buttons, like he even after he had his first album and it didn't do so well, you know what I'm saying, he was able to thrive on the internet and kind of build his name back up through the internet, doing a lot of things that a lot of artists, a lot of companies, this commonplace now, you know what I'm saying, from doing live video podcasts and letting people in on, you know, what he's doing, and it was all promotion for his mixtape. And like I was telling Ahk, I mean, I found out about J Electronica before all the Exhibit A through C joint, um, straight through MySpace. And this one, Facebook was probably the most popular. Twitter was around, but it wasn't that popular yet. And he was like the only reason why I came to MySpace because I kept seeing his name and blogs and forums everywhere, kind of on the low, you know what I'm saying? And I think what Russell and Steve Rifkin are trying to do, which is kind of dope when you think about it, but I'm always leery about the rules. It's almost as if they realize there's the real world where you can get the deals the way you used to, but that's not really worth it anymore. And then there's the virtual world where everybody's happy to be there, and they're trying to find some way to become a part of that, you know what I'm saying, as opposed to just, oh, Russell Simmons has a page, or, you know, Steve Rifkin has a Twitter or Instagram. They want to basically build a virtual building that's similar to a Def Jam All Out and say, hey, come over here, you know, you don't have to be out there in the wild of the internet trying to get yourself heard. You know, we can sign you and then we can help you do that. You know what I'm saying? Which is no different from when you think about people who do blogs for a living, where, you know, if they know their stuff regarding the genre of music or fashion or whatever it is, there's a company that's just looking for somebody to do that for them. So it's going to be interesting, but I want to see who's the first nigga to get dropped from a virtual label. Like, they need the bronze, whoever that nigga is. You know what I'm saying? All right. The next topic on the list is somewhat serious in tone, but it's going to bring up a good question. Drake and J. Cole apologized for J. Cole's line in a Jodeci freestyle. I guess it was over a Jodeci beat. I don't remember hearing it. Where he basically talked about autism and not in a flattering fashion, by the way. Let me see if I can find the line real quick.
he said, I'm autistic. You niggas is autistic retards.
Yeah, like, go check the numbers, dummy. That's just me getting started. I'm autistic. You niggas is autistic, retarded. Now, Kil, responsibility in hip hop lyrics. Should we have any? Because this kind of reminds me of, you know, that one chef or radio host or newscaster that slips up and says nigger, not the N word,
Right.
not what y'all choose to call it now, but the word nigger, and or something racist or derogatory, and then here comes the apology. And I know people tend to like J. Cole and Drake a lot, so they haven't really been catching that much flack. But shouldn't they have known better with that line?
I think it's funny because we was just talking about this the other night on the writer's bench. But
Hmm.
for me, it was, I felt some kind of way about it because I have a godson who's autistic, and because I know I've got about 3 or 4 of my people whose kids have autism. So I felt some kind of way about it because at first when I heard it, I got at my man who's a big J. Cole fan, like, yo, they going at your man. And he was like, man, come on, people need to find something to be more upset about than that, And I had to kind of ask myself, is it because I'm 39 that I feel some kind of way? Is it because I know somebody who's autistic that I feel some kind of way? Now, keep in mind, me feeling some kind of way doesn't mean I want J. Cole dropped. Doesn't mean don't buy J. Cole, don't listen to J. Cole. I think it's just that tap on the shoulder of like, fam, that's like almost saying like almost like how Kevin Garnett went out of bounds. What I felt like what we called Charlie Villanueva a cancer patient.
Yeah.
It's like, dog, people got people dying of cancer. Like, I still don't know to this day why nobody has punched Kevin Garnett in the mouth. Like, I really just honestly don't. Like, that right there makes me know that there's no real thugs in the NBA because there's no way that Kevin Garnett gets away with the. I actually, not to get off topic, I actually salute Carmelo for going after dude for the honey nut comment. Because it's just like somebody gotta shut Garnett down, and I respect Melo for that,
Yeah.
But back on topic, because it made me think about when I was 19, when I was 18, and Red came out with the cerebral palsy on the headbang, and I thought to myself, well, I didn't feel no kind of way about that. In fact, that was my favorent part of the song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he didn't just say cerebral palsy. He went to go do the handyman joint, he went extra with it. And it's kind of like I didn't feel any way at 18, but then I'm like, well, what if my sister had cerebral palsy? Would I felt some kind of way then? So, I mean, I think for me, I salute them for, not being like Lil Wayne and going back and forth with the Emmett Till people, just being able to say, hey, I apologize. I didn't mean anything by it. My man Bezo made a good point. Coming up in the hood, we always make fun of the slow kid. We call dude retarded. We always, that's just part of the hood stuff, and it's not until an adult taps us on our shoulder and says, don't do that. Or, don't make fun of that crackhead. Like, he got problems. Like, don't do that, So I'm not really mad at them for it. It's just like, you definitely got to tap somebody on the shoulder and be like, yo, you got to fall back.
Yeah. So, do you think now that, Drake and J. Cole, apologize for these things, which was good, but the fact that they did apologize and they recognized that it was wrong, do you think that puts some sort of pressure on them when they write now? Because it's one thing, when you're talking about the next rapper or whoever it is, you tend to go in that hard, and sometimes you're not that sensitive to things like that, especially like Kill said, especially if you don't know someone like that, or you don't know that much about autism. Do you think now it would make a J. Cole a little bit cautious about how he approaches the booth, or does he actually learn something? Because that's the thing that him and Drake were saying, that it's a learning experience. But is it?
Yeah, I think they could take it and learn from it, and I think that's as far as it'll go, and that learning experience is for them in particular. As far as hip hop in general, it's like what Kill was saying, like, you know, people were doing that before they did it, and people are gonna continue to do it because it's just one of those. It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That people do. It's a part of the expression in hip hop. That's a part of how some people express themselves. It's ignorant. You know what I'm saying? But it happens. So for them, Drake and J. Cole, it's a learning experience for them, and for them to grow, as men, You know what I'm saying? They probably will check themselves next time they feel themselves going in that direction. They may check themselves. You know, they may. I don't know. But I think it is an opportunity for them to learn. But as far as hip hop in general, like, yo, I mean, I was thinking about this the other day, and it happens. People do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
people do it, and you know, people do it when they not rhyming. You know what I'm saying? When it's not in a song. You know what I'm saying? People do it. So for it to be in hip hop, like, it doesn't really surprise me, you know. And as far as, you know, do I feel as though a hip hop artist needs to be responsible for what they say as far as that? I mean, if we talking about art and, you know, that's how that person felt and that's how they wanted to express themselves at the time, you know, who am I to say, you know, yo, no, don't do that, because that's, you know, that's how they express themselves at the time. Now, you know, if they get checked on it and it's like, yo, you know what, that wasn't really right, you know, maybe you need to think about this, or did you think about that, then it's on that individual to learn from that, and, you know, as far as how they're going to approach their songs or their music the next time. So.
And I think, and another piece too is kind of like, you know, I saw that vague, and a lot of people were talking about, you know, well, isn't it, you know, free speech, and, you know, can I say whatever I want to say? And it's one of those things I always tell folks: you can do whatever you want to do. You can jump off a roof if you want to. You're gonna have some consequences for it when you pick yourself up off that ground. So same thing. You can't go to work and tell your boss what you really think about them if you want to keep your job. So yeah, it's free speech. You can do whatever your heart desires. Go do it. Go walk out 95. You know, you can do whatever you want to do, but whatever you do is gonna be consequences for it. So as long as you're willing to deal with them consequences, you got freedom of speech. You got freedom to do whatever you want to do. So I just know a lot of people bring that up, like, well, that's wrong. You censoring people. You gotta censor yourself when you go to work every day.
Yeah.
You got to censor yourself when a cop pull you over and you know you ain't did nothing wrong. So, yeah, we could say freedom of speech, but let's be real about the game of life. You're going to have to censor yourself if you want to stay alive, and if you want to keep a job, you have to censor yourself. So all that freedom of speech stuff, yeah, we got it. And you free to say whatever you want, but it is what it is when you got to deal with them consequences of it.
Yeah, I think, and one of the reasons why I felt like this was a good story to politic about, because of some of the things y'all said. You know, when you think about rappers, you know, and this is basically leading to what we do at the end, where we kind of close out with a conversation. I was looking at this article where Jay-Z and Kanye West reportedly joined the Florida Stand Your Ground boycott. And the only reason why I was, you know, kind of staring at that, I was thinking about contradictions in hip hop. Now, there was a point when I was young where, you know, I would defend it regardless. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of what was being said. You know, if the song was called How to Roll a Blunt, if you didn't like it, so what? I know how to roll a blunt now. You know what I'm saying? That's how I looked at it. But you know, now that I see that, especially, like, I'll give an example, because I always give this example when it comes to contradictions, because I think it's one of the biggest. DMX, right? When he first came out, I didn't really care for him that much, because I just couldn't jive with a dude who's just barking on tracks, and niggas was like, yo, it's that hardcore. I'm like, yo, he's barking like on a song. But DMX is the first dude to be like, Lord, you know, thy Lord is my shepherd, blah 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 blah. But then in the next song, I hit you in your head, you won't feel shit. I'm like, yo, this is the same dude who opened with a prayer, who talking about he's gonna bust me in my head. You know what I'm saying? Or get at me, and you know what I'm saying? Just everything to contradict everything he just prayed to the Lord for. You know what I'm saying? Like, now I understand, you know, it's freedom of speech. But in hip hop, Kim, when does it go too far? Because contradictions are basically a part of hip hop. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
mean, you get Snoop Dogg, who, he's Crip when he comes out, gangster, weed smoke. Then he gets to a point where he just want to party and talk about beautiful ladies and not smoke weed no more and be dedicated to his family. Then he gets back on the gangster shit. Then he's doing reggae. And and the Rastafarians had a problem with him using, the religion as a means to market itself a different way. And it just seems like in hip hop, especially when it comes album to album basis, dudes contradict themselves from album to album, from verse to verse. I've probably done it myself a couple times. I mean, should we be more responsible in that regard, even though we haven't been?
I mean, I definitely think. Well, one, let me say this, and one of my people put me on to this who was a big Pac fan, because one of my knocks on Pac was I couldn't keep up with him. One minute it was keep your head up, the next minute it was hit him up,
Yeah.
the next minute it was this, the next minute was that. And he kind of told me, and it kind of stayed with me, was that, Pac is the average dude. How many people out there go to church, they trying to do the right thing, but they may end up on the block again, or, so it's like, he kind of just put it in a way to say that we're all walking contradictions. Some days there are days when I don't curse. There's some days when I read the Bible. Mm-hmm. There's some days when I don't. There's some days, so I think the thing with a rapper is just like you're on wax. So I think DMX got a lot of demons that he's battling with. Now he's been battling with, so it's kind of like the kid who's raised in the church. So the church is in you, but you still out there selling drugs. But like the Clips, I always say that about them. I can tell them dudes grew up in church, because if you really listen to the Clips through their mixtapes, they drop a lot of science about the Bible. Mm-hmm. They drop a lot of science about, Noah and different things like that. So it wasn't really a big shock to me when Malice kind of went back to religion, because if you really listen to their rhymes through their coke, once you shift through all the coke stuff, there's a lot of biblical stuff, and there's a lot of coke, but there's a lot of biblical stuff in there too. So it really didn't shock me when he was like, yo, I'm going back to this religious route, And his book is a good book. I don't know if anybody out there read it, but Malice's book is a good book, and it kind of talks about how he had this fight with, I want this money and I want this lifestyle, but I know it's wrong, but then my brother needs me, and I think it's a fight that a lot of people do. Then I think the second half is you do have people who literally just follow whatever wave the marketing ride goes. So it's kind of like you said, I don't know, I haven't kept up with Snoop for years, so if it wasn't for your blog, I wouldn't even know about Snoop Lion. So, the thing is that I don't know if that really was his religious epiphany of being a Rastafarian now. I wouldn't say it's a marketing thing, because reggae music ain't big no more. Like Sean Paul ain't, doing it like that no more. So I would look at it like maybe that's legit, because it's not the trend right now.
Because it's not the trend, it's like, well, ain't nobody doing this.
That's true.
Let me do it. You know what I'm saying? Not the cut, but it could
you're
be.
Right.
It
You're
could
right.
be.
You're
it
right.
could
So
be that was a way that he felt as though he could reinvent himself, and it still be about the, what I mean? Could be, or maybe he really truly had an epiphany, and it is what it is now as far as the Snoop line and the locks, and it could be all real, or it could be all entertainment.
And keep in mind, it goes back to what Barkley said. I'm not a role model. And I think that's the thing that a lot of MCs, a lot of NBA players, a lot of people who feel like I'm not a role model. Like, it's not my job to raise your kids, whereas I feel I differ with that. Like, I feel like you're in the limelight, you got all this money. The only reason why you got this money is because you got these fans. And, a lot of these fans are little kids. So, to me, if you want the money, it can't be the best of both worlds. You can't be a Mets and a Yankees fan. You got to pick your team. You can't be Giants and Jets. So if you want the money, then you're a role model. If you don't want to be a role model, get the money back. But nobody wants to do that. They want to keep the money and not be a role model. But, in my eyes, you're essentially, you are a role model.
That's a slippery slope, because and you probably heard this argument before, probably heard this ideology before. Like, nobody looks at Arnold Schwarzenegger after he done killed everybody in the jungle and everybody in, you know what I mean? Nobody came to him and said, yo, you know what? That was, and you know what? Towards like the end of his career, that's when I heard a little bit of talking about it. And it was in jest. It was in a movie, The Last Action Hero, and he was joking about, yeah, you know, in this movie we didn't kill as many as the last. We only killed 20, and you know, the last it was 50. So, you know, it was in jest, it was in joking. But for the most part, you know, when it comes to, you know, these actors, nobody is going at them hard body. Now, if the actor makes a conscious choice, like Jim Carrey, and with this Kick-Ass 2, right? He made the choice that he doesn't want to be a part of any of the marketing because he feels a certain way about violence in movies now. But that was after he took the check and did the entire role. You know what I'm saying? He did. The movie's done. It's coming out. But at some point, he had an intervention within himself, and he said, you know what, that's wrong. I'm not going to promote it. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you're going to do that within yourself, hey, you know, that's on you. But I don't think we should. I just don't feel like pointing the finger or chastising or saying that, yo, you definitely got a responsibility because you have the platform and you have the voice right now and it's on you. Like, yeah, you should say something. You should be saying something to the people that's worth hearing. But if you don't, you know, at the end of the day, you know, as parents, you guys are parents, I'm not. But if I think about my mom's, she bought me Snoop Dogg. She did it. Like, she bought me Yo album. That was the first tape that I owned myself. She bought me that. But it was under the premise of, well, you going to church on Sunday. It don't Snoop Dogg. You can Snoop Dogg all you want. Sunday morning, you getting up and you getting out here, and that's what it is. So, yeah, as far as the responsibility coming from the artist, you know, I don't know. I think, you know, we got that responsibility as far as our kids and, you know, in the circles that surround us to make sure we put them on point with what it really is, and that, yo, this is just a tape, and this is just a song, this is just a CD, you know, and the artists, they're not going to do that because it's the suspension of belief. They want you to believe because they want you to get the album. They want you to be entertained, so they're not going to sit up here and most of them are. Some of them they will, but most of them aren't going to do that. Like a Sean Price, he'll say, yo, I'm lying. Like, I'm not really doing it. He'll say that. You know what I'm saying? That's why I give him his props. But he'll say the most outrageous stuff. But then you'll find an interview where you're like, yo, I'm lying, yo. I don't really do that. You know what I'm saying? So I guess that's my standpoint on it.
I think like, of course, you know, I feel like hip hop should never be looked at as the only medium that contradicts themselves, you know, in their music or in the entertainment they can provide. It's hard to call it because, you know, we can't say Snoop isn't a Rastafarian for life at this point. We don't know, you know what I'm saying? But what's been consistent throughout a ton of rappers over time is when they start to hit the wall, you know what I'm saying? And what was hot in the beginning, which was usually a ton of contradictions and, you know, stuff that people will look at as being irresponsible lyrics, you know, people don't care anymore about, you know, what they have to say. So then that's what makes them think about, like Eminem, you know what I'm saying? When his star was starting to fade a little bit, you know, then it was okay to say, hey, Elton John, I'm sorry. Hey, this person that, you know, I was going at on the MTV Awards, you know, I'm sorry. Hey, I'm a different person, y'all. You know, things like that. And that's the stuff that makes me look like, okay, is this a real change? Or if you were still rolling, you know, would you ever get to this point? You know what I'm saying? Because it's different when you grow. Like, for one, I'll give Nas a lot of props because I never know what he's gonna come out with,
Mm.
and his career is like a seesaw, so it's hard to pinpoint what he's feeling. I think sometimes when he's successful, he gets more responsible. You know what I'm saying? He feels like, oh, I'm gonna put an album out called Nigga. You know what I'm saying? Or hip hop is dead after this and stuff like that. He doesn't get to a point all the time where he puts out something that's hot on a mainstream level, you know, party records and everything, and then, you know, when he puts out something whack, now he's the righteous Nas. You know what I'm saying? I
Mm-hmm.
think him and some artists kind of maintain that. So when you look at the different things that artists do on their albums, and DMX is definitely a special case now that we're about a couple albums deep with him. But I would just remember like that first debut, it was just like that was people's argument. Like, yo, you know, he had prayer number 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I'm like, yeah, but I heard stop being greedy and get at me, dog, and I heard him like sound like he killed somebody on one of them skits. Like, like he going to church after that? Like, you know what I'm saying? That's the only thing I think about because DMX is just a special case. But you know, it took a while for us to realize that. And you know, not to be getting on Snoop and whatever you may feel it because the album was whack, but I never, you know, I don't disagree with if this is going to make him a better man or a better father or a better artist. You know what I'm saying? But it's just crazy, man. It's hip
Still
hop.
relevant.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because
Because
we ain't
we're
forget
having a
about.
conversation about him right now, and this is a guy that came out in '92.
Oh
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Like '92, '91, but we're still having this conversation about him
yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's what he decided to do.
Well,
You know what
the and I forgot to add this. You know, Snoop. Sorry to get back upon you, but y'all remember when he came out with Sexual Seduction?
I mean? Yeah.
And that was clearly the video. Now I was highly entertained by it, to be honest, because I thought it was just hilarious. I think Snoop is funny, you know what I'm saying? Um, but when you listen to that album, especially next to the Blue Carpet Treatment, which I thought was his best album in years,
Mm.
um, it just felt like, yo, I need to do something else because people were happy hearing old Snoop again, but I don't think they're gonna want to hear it again. So let me get with Teddy Riley and let me make a song with Willie Nelson and try to do something different. So when I see him now, like, oh man, Snoop Rastafari, I'm like, yo, is this the same thing?
You see, the funny thing
You
for me,
know?
Big, is I ain't heard a Snoop album since What's My Name or Doggy Style.
That was the
Word?
first one.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's
the last Snoop album I've heard was the first one. So I have no y'all talk about the Blue Carpet, Sexual Seduction. I'm out the loop. I ain't know he did Willie. Like I said, I'm still on G's up, hoes down. I don't know. I ain't heard a Snoop album since.
the Blue Carpet Treatment is something you would want to check out because that's more on the lines of where you think Snoop would be today. You
Yeah.
know, if he was more consistent since Doggy Style, that's what it would feel like. You know, that's kind of a combination of the hits, the good hits he had over the years, along with that old Snoop. But you know,
And
at the end of the
production,
day,
good production.
yeah, and the production was right. But yo, I just want to thank y'all again for being on the rap this week. You know what I'm saying? It was a dope show as usual. We're gonna be here every Thursday at 9 p.m. I know it says 9 p.m., but you know, sometimes things happen and we don't get on the air, but we will be here. Kill, you know what I'm saying? Shout out everything, man. You got too much. I don't know what to even say,
Man,
bro.
I don't even know where to start, man. Just follow me on Twitter, Kill889. Yeah, everything else, man.
Hey, then you find them there, and you just come here to the rap, and you
Yeah. Because I'll be, going back to Oblivion. But next Thursday, I'll be back You know what I'm saying? Check
Ahk like Meek and Gilly. He in them Baltimore streets. Just go out to Baltimore. Ahk in them streets, B. You need to find Ahk ain't on Twitter. Just go out to the Baltimore streets. On the west side, Ahk out there, B. Not on no negative stuff either.
Yeah.
Nah, but Ahk stay in them streets, so that's where Ahk is.
But yeah, you know, thanks for tuning in, y'all. You know, that's what it is.
All right, man. So, you know, you can catch me on Twitter, Vegas World INC, and every other social network out there under the same username. This is HipHoPolitic.com. The Rap, Kill, Ahk, Vegas 1. And I'm going to try not to bang the table so the shit don't shake.
Drop it on the random.